So, what if all those stories about ghosts, near-death experiences, even telepathy, what if they weren't just stories? What if they were actually clues, pointing to a much deeper, more fundamental reality? We're going to dive into a pretty radical theory that claims it can unite all of these paranormal mysteries with the very cutting edge of physics. And this is a perfect example, right? It's just one of countless stories that people tell, experiences that just defy any easy explanation. You've got two people driving on a completely deserted road in the middle of the night, and they both see the exact same impossible thing. To them, it was vivid, it was absolutely real, but it just doesn't fit into our neat little box of how the world works.
And that really is the heart of the matter, isn't it? Do we just dismiss all these accounts, say they're just tricks of the mind or people making things up, or do we start to treat them like data points, like little pieces of a giant puzzle, all pointing toward a science that is way bigger and, frankly, way stranger than anything we currently imagine?
To really get the scale of this puzzle, you first have to appreciate the sheer variety of these unexplained phenomena. I mean, we're talking about a lot more than just a mysterious figure on a dark road.
Take this for example. It's an account of a near-death experience, an NDE. These are stories from people who were clinically dead, and they report leaving their bodies, feeling this incredible sense of peace, and often seeing a brilliant, beautiful light. For anyone who goes through it, it's a completely life-altering event.
And what's really wild is how consistent these stories are. You hear them from people all over the world, from completely different cultures and backgrounds. And they all seem to point to this really profound idea that maybe, just maybe, consciousness can operate independently of the physical brain. I mean, that's a concept that pushes modern neuroscience to its absolute limit.
And the list just keeps going, right? We've all heard stories of twins who seem to share thoughts over huge distances, or people who see these vivid apparitions of loved ones who've passed away, or those chillingly accurate premonitions. The main takeaway here is that these aren't just a few isolated incidents. They make up an entire category of human experience that science has, for the most part, just decided to leave in the dark.
So why? Why has science struggled so much with all of this? Well, it's because these phenomena seem to fly directly in the face of the very foundations of how we currently understand the universe.
So, mainstream physics is built on this idea of four fundamental forces that basically govern everything. But the source material for this whole thing takes a really provocative stance. It basically says, hey, that whole four forces thing, it might be as outdated as the ancient belief in earth, air, fire, and water. It argues that we're really only seeing part of the picture.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of the problem. Physicists have looked for some kind of fifth force that could explain things like moving objects with your mind. They've used these incredibly sensitive instruments, but, as physicist John G. Taylor put it, the microbalance stubbornly refuses to budge. There's just nothing there. Not within the standard model, anyway.
So we're at a total impasse. On one hand, you have this huge collection of human experiences, and on the other, you have a scientific framework that says, nope, those shouldn't be possible. So what do? Do you throw out all the experiences, or do you maybe need a new framework?
And this is where things get really interesting. The source material proposes a third option. Don't throw out physics, but instead expand it dramatically with a totally radical new theory that tries to bridge this exact gap.
It's called topological geometrodynamics, or TGD for short. And this is the life's work of a Finnish physicist named Matti Pinneken. And look, this isn't just some small tweak to what we already know. It is a fundamental, ground-up reimagining of space, time, and consciousness itself.
For Pinneken, this was never just some abstract academic exercise. He talks about having this incredibly profound personal experience that just completely shattered his conventional particle physicist worldview. It convinced him that consciousness was way, way more than just a simple function of the brain. And that one event really became the driving force behind decades of his work.
So what is TGD? Let's try to break down two of its core concepts. First up is something called many-sheeted spacetime. Okay, so forget the idea of a single universe. Instead, I want you to picture reality like a giant book with countless pages. We are living our lives on one page, but other pages, other layers of reality, exist right alongside ours, overlapping. TGD says that particles, and even our consciousness, can actually hop between these pages.
The second really mind-bending idea is a brand new kind of physics that's just for thought, called p-adic physics. Think of it like this. Your intention, your thought, I'm going to pick up that coffee cup. Well, that exists in this thought world. TGD proposes that there's an actual physical process that transforms that pure intention from the thought world into a real action in our physical world. It's supposed to be the bridge between mind and matter.
Okay, so with those pretty radical ideas in mind, let's see how TGD tries to do what mainstream physics can't: offer one single unified explanation for all of these paranormal events.
And this is the big payoff. This is where TGD tries to connect all these seemingly separate dots. Near-death experiences and ghosts, well, that's explained as a magnetic body that can actually survive physical death. Telepathy, that could just be quantum entanglement happening across those different sheets of space-time. And cognition itself, our thoughts, well, that's governed by that special physics of intention we just talked about. It is an incredibly ambitious framework.
So the really crucial point here is this. The power of TJDD, at least according to its supporters, isn't just in explaining one mystery, but in providing a single, coherent framework for all of them. It suggests that everything we call paranormal is actually just the normal operation of a physics that we haven't discovered yet.
But look, if a theory like this were ever proven to be true, the implications would go so far beyond just explaining ghosts. It would fundamentally change our entire place in the cosmos.
You know, our current scientific model pretty much treats consciousness as an afterthought, like it's just this emergent property, a lucky biological accident that happened to pop up inside our skulls. But TGD comes along and flips that entire idea completely on its head.
In this view, consciousness is literally woven into the fabric of reality. It's not something the universe has, it's something the universe is. The cosmos isn't some dead, empty machine with a few pockets of life. It's a fundamentally conscious entity, operating on principles that we're only just beginning to guess at.
And this quote from the theory's creator, it just perfectly captures the kind of humility it takes to even consider an idea this big. It asks us to wonder if our current science, as powerful and amazing as it is, might one day look as primitive to our descendants as cave drawings do to us now.
And that leaves us with this final, really profound question. Are we just some small, localized fluke looking out at a vast, empty universe? Or are we the universe itself on a journey of self-discovery happening through us? The answer, whatever it ends up being, really does change everything.